And what I think has happened to it is that people who have seen that value, particularly out of Asia and your area of the world, and because of what's happening with the BRICS. I'm a big believer, Patrick. I don't want to jump all over, but I'm probably one of the biggest voices that are positive in what would be called Main Street, Wall Street still at these days, on the belief of where BRICS are going and how negatively impacted countries like the United States are going to be. And I think part of that is because they recognize gold, and gold will be some part of their whatever it is, alternative currency, some type of trade way, digital support to gold. But that I believe they are going to be a big believer in. And I
The geopolitical landscape is witnessing a significant transformation as BRICS nations explore strategies to diminish the dominance of the US dollar in global trade. A notable example of this shift is the recent agreement between the UAE and India to settle trade payments in Indian rupees instead of US dollars. This move exemplifies a broader trend among BRICS countries to enhance their economic sovereignty through local currencies. In addition to currency diversification, BRICS nations are increasingly turning to gold as a cornerstone of their financial strategy. According to World Gold Council (WGC) data, central banks are now responsible for almost a quarter of global gold demand, with the People's Bank of China leading this charge. The substantial increase in gold reserves among BRICS nations is seen as a hedge against economic volatility and a step towards establishing a more stable alternative to the US dollar. Wealth protection and management advisor PeterGrandich underscores the growing influence of BRICS nations in global trade and investment. He notes that, unlike the US financial community, countries in Asia and those within the BRICS alliance recognize and embrace the intrinsic value of gold. Grandich predicts that BRICS will have a transformative impact on world trade over the next 3 to 5 years, comparable to the effects of the Industrial Revolution. A key component of their strategy is integrating gold into their alternative currency systems, potentially through a gold-backed digital currency. The accumulation of gold by BRICS nations, particularly China, has not gone unnoticed. China's approach to gold purchases is marked by a high degree of secrecy, diverging from the practices of most central banks that report their gold acquisitions to the International Monetary Fund. This clandestine accumulation has led analysts to speculate that China's actual gold holdings could exceed those of the United States, potentially making it the world's largest holder of gold. Join us as we delve into PeterGrandich's insights. To stay updated with our latest uploads, subscribe to our channel and activate notifications. Thank you.
two reasons, Patrick. The single biggest is no advertising dollars there. They make an awful lot of money from the financial service firms that are pushing all the crypto types of currencies, and therefore that's what they build around. The second is there's always been a Rodney Dangerfield, who was an old comedian that used to say he never got any respect. And gold has never gotten the respect. In fact, it's been treated like kryptonite by the general financial community, at least in the US, for as long as I've been in it. It's an amazing phenomenon when you talk, especially to young financial advisors. I just gave a talk to a few couple weeks ago, and I say, can you name the three tier one investments in the world that are recognized as the single best? And of course, they say stocks and bonds, but they never can guess the third one. And I tell them it's gold. And yet, none of you, and none of them did, have any exposure or your clients to it. Why is that? And why has something for a couple thousand years where certain currencies and paper monies have come and gone, and this thing can still buy what it used to buy 100 years ago, 500 years ago, and you don't have any? And the last thing I'll just say, Patrick, when I sit in our planning business with our clients, prospective clients, when I tell them, listen, I want you to buy some gold and hope it doesn't go up, they all look a little strange, Patrick, and they all say almost the exact same words. Mr. Grandich, why do you want me to buy something that you don't think is going to go up? Well, I tell them, because if it does, what you own a lot of is likely going the other way. And that's the big missing ingredient. And what I think has happened to it is that people who have seen that value, particularly out of Asia and your area of the world, and because of what's happening with the BRICS. I'm probably one of the biggest voices that are positive in what would be called Main Street, Wall Street still at these days, on the belief of where BRICS are going and how negatively impacted countries like the United States are going to be. And I think part of that is because they recognize gold, and gold will be some part of their whatever it is, alternative currency, some type of tradeway, digital support to gold. But that I believe they are going to be a big believer in. And let me just say this: I believe the Brics will be to world trade in the next 3 to 5 years the impact the same as the Industrial Revolution had on world trade.
PeterGrandich highlights that France and the United States are on the verge of finalizing an agreement to use the interest from these frozen assets to support Ukraine. While intended to aid Ukraine, this move could have broader implications, potentially alarming other nations about the safety of their assets under U.S. influence. Consequently, this might drive them towards Brics as a safer alternative. Russia's President Vladimir Putin has vocally condemned Western countries' agreement to provide Ukraine with a loan package sourced from frozen Russian assets. In a meeting with foreign ministry officials, Putin criticized Western leaders for attempting to establish a legal framework for these asset freezes, stating, "Despite all the trickery, theft is still theft and will not go unpunished." This rhetoric underscores the heightened tensions and the potential for retaliatory actions from Russia. This agreement was announced at the G7 annual summit in Italy, where U.S. President Joe Biden described the frozen assets deal as a significant outcome and a clear signal to Putin that the West is steadfast in its stance. Biden's remarks reinforce that Western nations are committed to supporting Ukraine and maintaining pressure on Russia. Let's get back to the interview.
I think there was too built of a high expectation for last year's results when there were just a handful, but now it looks as many as 40 countries are ready to sign and become a part of it. And my understanding there's as many of those that have now going through the process of what it would be like and all. And I think a key thing happened a couple of weeks ago, Pat, that really got no coverage in the US, but I think it's key to this belief. France and the United States are supposed to be very close to concluding an agreement of taking the interest on the money that they have frozen from Russia's assets and giving it to the Ukrainians. And and I think that would be the straw that breaks the camel back, and it'd probably be the single biggest advertisement for the BRICS to interest other countries if and when that's concluded, and I suspect it will be concluded fairly soon. I think one of the things COVID taught, other than the fact that it was basically a fraudulent pandemic overall, it taught that globalization really didn't work because we saw once what transpired. Many countries saw that they didn't have the natural goods to produce for themselves and were dependent on places where perhaps they weren't even friendly nations to them. The other thing, of course, is the critical mineral, and that's most minerals. It's not just rare earth type of minerals now. We concluded that we don't have the supply that's going to be needed, and it's not just Ukraine. It's part of also Taiwan because of Taiwan's uh, such usage for semiconductors and how critical they are to everyday business world. It's even countries like Afghanistan, which America spent God knows how many trillions of dollars left, and now they too are recognizing how they can monetize their resources as well, even in the Middle East. So this battle for critical minerals is just starting, and the United States and many of the European countries are playing with one hand behind their back. But here, this present administration that we have has done everything against natural resources since it's taken over, starting with oil and gas and moving right through critical minerals where it even shut areas where some places it looked like we could add to that. And it won't change overnight, even if there is an administration change. And let's face facts. China is a dominant player in that, and they have their hands all around the world making deals and gathering up all the resources and then some. And they are the clear leader in that movement.
Given the transformative potential of BRICS nations in global trade and the escalating tensions resulting from the West's financial strategies against Russia, how will these developments reshape the international financial order in the coming years? And what measures should nations take to safeguard their economic sovereignty and stability in an increasingly multipolar world? Share your perspective in the comments section. If the video resonates with you, join our community by subscribing to our channel and enabling notifications with the bell icon. Thank you for being a part of our community.